Today I have just about filled my current EDC pocket notebook, and I wanted to take you along through the process of setting up a new one. Lucas from Blank First Page calls this the changing of the guards, and I quite like that. But everybody who uses pocket notebooks is going to have a slightly different system for how they switch notebooks. So I figured I'd show you how I do it, at least how I currently do it. This is another one of those things that just evolves as it goes and as you use your notebooks. So we'll set the old notebook aside, and step number one is to choose your next new notebook. This is the catalog I have to choose from. I've got a couple of field notes. I have a couple of cheap dollar store notebooks that just so happen to be the exact same dimensions as the field notes, which is my favorite size. And then I have one here that I made. If you're interested in making your own, I did make a tutorial a while back on this channel, so I'll see if I can link that. But more than the covers and how pretty some of these are, I'm going to be looking at the paper inside. These two field notes, I have got a just blank field notes. I have a lined field notes, and then I've already used, this one is the grid notebook from this pack. And then these dollar store notebooks are grid as well. This is like a yellow ink. I don't even know if that shows up on the camera, but I do like this grid. I got this same pack like 3 or 4 times, so, and I've already used those notebooks, so I do know that I like these. And then with the one that I made, I used Stalogy notebook paper that I trimmed down for this. And I really, really like Stalogy paper. It's a little heavier than like Tomo River paper, but it's lighter than most other papers. And I really like the grid size they have on here. Again, I'm not even sure the grid shows up because it's so light. It's just a very light gray grid. I think I'm gonna stick with a grid, so that means the field notes are out this time. Of these 3, I think this one's my favorite today. Another consideration is the number of pages. Both of these have more pages than a field notes. I think this one has like 64 pages, and I don't know how many pages I made this one, but it's thinner paper, and I believe it's just a touch thicker than my cheaper one. I think I'm going to go with the one that I made. I need to find a sticker or something for the front just to make it a little more exciting, but I think we'll do that later. So when I set up a new notebook, the first thing I do is break in the spine. This isn't really necessary with something like a field notes or something that has a staple binding, but I do find that pages churn easier and wear better if they're broken in. But with something like this that just has the single booklet, I find the center of the booklet, and then I turn the page in the opposite direction of where it currently lays, and I crease it. And I just do that all the way through. And then when I get to the end, I go back to the middle, and I do the same thing to the other side. In the process of breaking in my pages, I also kind of like familiarize myself with the book, which, you know, if you ever started a new notebook and you're just like, I'm so used to the one I was just using and it feels like home, and this one doesn't feel like it's mine yet. Breaking in those pages helps me kind of just handle the book and get used to feeling it in my hands. Whereas this one's all broken in because I've used it. This one needs a little extra help. So the first thing I do when I start a new notebook is I write down what number notebook it is, so that when I'm referencing it elsewhere, I can just write down which notebook it is, and then I know where to find that note. The way I do this, I put PN, standing for Pocket Notebook, number 26, because that is the year we're in 2026, dash, this is notebook 3 of this year. And then as the year goes on, as I use more notebooks, this last number will change, but the rest of this number will stay the same until next year. Next, I'm going to number my pages because I do use an index. This is a little time consuming, but it's also kind of meditative in a way. I do look forward to this process each time I set up a new notebook, but I'll only make you sit through a little bit of this, and I'll probably do most of these pages off camera. So I would number all of the pages, or if you don't like that process of sitting there and numbering every single page in your notebook, you could number them as you use the pages, and just as you come to a new page, write the next page number. With this notebook, I'm going to try something new. I would like to find some intentions for myself during the use of this notebook, and I'd like to write them here on the first page. That way I can come back to them periodically as I'm using this notebook and see what I've intended for myself over the next, this will probably take me 4 to 6 weeks to fill. So I'm going to leave that blank for now because I need to do some extra journaling to figure out what that is. And then turn the page, and I will put my key here. So I'm swapping these from my old notebook. A lot of these are the same bullet points as always. And then as I review my old notebook, I will have space here too to add any shorthand that I used that future me might not recognize if I review this in like a couple of years. So I just have a place to put those, so whose are, you know, or what does PN stand for? Those kinds of things will go down here as I review this notebook. The key I use draws heavily from the bullet journal system. Most of these are the official bullets, and some are bullets that I've just made up and used over the years that I've found very effective. I have just a dot for an action, an X for a complete action, a slash for a started but not completed action. A forward arrow is for migration, a backward arrow is for scheduled, a dash for notes, and that dash can be turned into a plus for notating that I expanded further on that thought later in the notebook. Sometimes I'll put the page number next to this note so that I know where to find that thought. An equal sign is for recording a mood or a feeling, and then a circle is for events. On the next page will be our index, and as I'm thinking about it, not sure if we might need a longer index because of how many pages this notebook has, but I think I'm just going to stick with the one, and we'll see how it goes. If I need to extend my index later in the notebook, I can do that. I like to draw a margin here, and I like to have my page number on one side and then just the description of whatever I'm logging on the other side. After those few pages are set up, I like to review my old notebook and move any information I want to keep with me into my new notebook. One spread that almost always gets moved over is a running shopping list. Okie dokie. I actually don't have any other notes to transfer, which is odd for me. I normally have something that I'm working on that I want to move over, but yeah, that's it for that part of the process. And then when I start using this notebook, I'm just gonna start day one on this page and use this notebook all the way through. We have one more thing to do. I need to make this cute. I have this piece of paper that was cut from a envelope, and it was just a very beautiful envelope. So I decided to keep it and see if I could use it for something. And I'm thinking I could just trim it down and put just a square there. And then I have this wax seal that was on a different envelope. I could put that somewhere here. That might be too much. I think I might go with this option and trim this down. Can't actually show myself applying the tape because the other side of this has an address on it. So I'll see you in just a minute. All right, I've got double-sided tape on there. And now we place it. Very nice. A little crooked, but it'll do. And that is my new pocket notebook that I will be using for the next probably month or so. You can slide it in here next to our other notebook. Slide our pen right in there. And voila! Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video was helpful for you, that you found some value in it. How do you set up your pocket notebooks? What pages are essential that you always move over to your next notebook? I would love to know. I hope you have a lovely day, and I'll see you in the next one.